Welcome everyone to the first Wellness Masterclass of 2021, TGIO, thank God it's over. Lessons learned and what matters most in 2021 with the extraordinary Jessica Jesse, whom I will formally introduce in a moment. I'm Nancy Davis, Chief Creative Officer and Executive Director of both the Global Wellness Summit and Global Wellness Institute, and I'll be your host for today's call. Beatrice, you can take the slide off. I want to thank Biologique Recherche, our generous sponsor for this Wellness Masterclass. Rupert Schmidt, co-president and co-chairman, is with us today, and I'll ask him to offer a thought a little later on the call. This is the first year we are having these calls sponsored, and as long as we have generous supporters like Rupert and his colleague Pierre-Louis Delapaume, you will all continue to enjoy these events without any cost. So merci beaucoup to Rupert and his team. Before introducing our special guest, I want to introduce the most special of all, Susie Ellis, Chair and CEO of both the Global Wellness Summit and Global Wellness Institute. Susie is the guiding light, not just of our organizations, but of the industry. And her optimism and vision got us through 2020, and I know it'll take us all forward into the future. Susie?
Well, thank you, Nancy, for saying those kind words. I just want to say Happy New Year to everyone, and maybe to mention that our guiding mission is joining together, shaping the future. And I think that 2021 is really going to be a year where we together are having an opportunity to shape the future. So thank you for joining today.
Thank you, Susie. I just want to mention that also on the call are other members of our team: Michelle Gamble, Beatrice Hutchegger, Wendy Jackson, Paulina Treys, Betsy Israelite, and likely others. It takes a village, and we have one of the absolute best. Before I introduce Jessica, Beatrice is just going to give us a quick refresher on Zoom. Beatrice?
Thank you, Nancy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. I will just quickly share some Zoom logistics with you before we get started. So as you noticed, I have muted everyone so we can eliminate any background noise, so we can hear our special guest very clearly. If you want to see the global mosaic of all the people on this call, you can bring your cursor to the top right of your Zoom window and select the gallery view. If you want Jessica to fill your screen, please choose the speaker view. In order to see many colleagues and friends of you, you can scroll through the pages of participants, which are growing by the second. It's 155 at the moment. And you can click at the blue arrow in the middle of the right part of your Zoom window. And finally, we also encourage you to post questions and comments in the chat throughout the call. You can find the chat button at the bottom center of your Zoom window, and it opens to the right of your Zoom screen. We'll review the chat throughout the call and try to get to as many questions and comments as possible. And lastly, just a friendly note that the share screen button is right next to the chat button in bright green. We kindly ask you to not click that button because that would be distracting. So thank you again for being with us. Thank you so much, Jessica, for sharing your wisdom, and back to you, Nancy.
Thank you, Beatrice. Okay, now our very, very special guest, Jessica Jesse. She's the CEO, founder, and creative director of BuDhaGirl. Jessica moves through the world with exceptional grace. When she walks into a room, you cannot help but notice her. She is very tall, very elegant, and colorful in every way, from her Gucci platform sneakers, her leopard print leggings, her multiple layers of patterns and textures, and almost always a splash of her signature pink. But Jessica's style and beauty are the outward expression of what is truly special about her, which is her heart. Jessica took our wellness world by storm in 2015 at the Global Wellness Summit in Mexico City. She sponsored a magnificent evening of creativity at Centro, a University of Art and Design, and I will never forget her standing outside addressing the group and then gifting us all the famous all-weather bangles. For those unfamiliar, the bangles are sold in a set, usually 9, representing 9 intentions for your day. They are described on the website as weightless, soundless, waterproof, and TSA proof. They're made of flexible polyvinyl carbonate rings that are hand-filled with various things like gold leaf and sealed with an exclusive Serenity Prayer bead. Many of you are probably wearing them. Jessica woke us all to the notion that wellness could be fashionable. And since that time, some of the most memorable moments of any summit are the moments Jessica creates. In 2016 in Austria for a 10th anniversary, Jessica decided to create special bangles filled with water from the Tyrolean Alps. I know this because I was in charge of collecting and shipping snow from Kitzbühel to Jessica in Texas when I was on my site visit. And she did pull this off, and they were amazing. In 2017 at the Breakers Palm Beach, Jessica spoke about intention and gifted everyone bangles. It is also the year we launched the Wellness Moonshot, a world free of preventable disease. That gave Jessica an idea that would become a signature element of that project, the Moonshot Calendar, which she has designed every year since and has inspired millions of people to reach for behavior change in the name of prevention. In 2018, at our summit in Italy, Jessica created the first wellness fashion show, outdoors in Rimini, and once again took our world by storm with a runway show based on the nature imagery of Louis Schwartzberg in the form of athleisure wear. It was a remarkable evening. In 2019 in Singapore, Jessica collaborated with her talented teenage daughter, Sloane, and brought to life an upcycled, regenerative fashion show featuring video and music aimed at showing us all what matters to the youth of this world and how it's connected to wellness. Again, a masterful moment. Jessica's impact on the wellness world cannot be overstated. She has demonstrated time and again that beauty, fashion, glamour are integral parts of our lives and directly connected to brain science, health, and overall well-being. What other fashion brand has a science advisory board? In anticipation of this wellness masterclass, I have been thinking a lot about Jessica and her unique qualities. And I have to say, I think she is the bangle incarnate. Strong, resilient, sometimes transparent, sometimes opaque, colorful or understated, dressy or casual, smart, sexy, and flexible. A bangle bracelet is an unbroken circle. And what Jessica has gifted us all is a circle of friendship and connection that is indeed unbreakable. Jessica will tell you about her passion for combining intention, science, and fashion, all in the service of well-being, and how that passion led her and her company to not only survive 2020, but thrive. It's quite a story. I just want to say thank you, Jessica, on behalf of our global wellness family, for bringing mindful glamour to both the summit and the Institute and to all our lives. The one and only Jessica Jessie. Please unmute Jessica, I'm sorry. Bottom left.
Yeah, I'm good.
Good.
Morning, everybody, or evening or afternoon. Well, after what Nancy said, I mean, I should just go. You've been just so kind, and I want to thank Nancy and Susie for their friendship and for this opportunity to really kick off the year with what I would call a group of friends. You know, I mean, it's not often that, you know, we get 600 friends on a call, and this is really quite extraordinary. And thank you for saying all those wonderful things about me and BuDhaGirl. And it touches my heart because the moment that I came into contact with, first of all, the summit and the people that make up the summit, the group of captivating, just enormous visionaries and thinkers, I was so inspired. And you know what inspired me the most about the group involved in global wellness is the caring. I mean, there was genuine compassion and kindness and caring. And you don't see that. I mean, you know, I've been to many, you know, summits and conventions, and, you know, people are there for, like, it feels like the summit, the Global Wellness Summit, people are there for each other, which is amazing. And it, you know, I was so thrilled, and it resonated. And every year that I've been privileged to be able to be there, I just am so energized. And I feel kind of the love, the love goes out and the love comes back. So that's kind of, why I love doing this, and I hope to continue this in the future. So thank you very much.
Oh, is that a little nod to doing something spectacular in Tel Aviv for us this year, Jessica?
You got it, sister.
Okay.
We're doing it. So we'll see what
fantastic.
Yeah. So, I said this kind of earlier, Nancy, before people signed up, is, this is called like a master class. And, I don't really feel I have something to teach. I have a lot of things to share with people. And I feel like it's almost like getting together this morning or afternoon, or evening, so you can have a cup of coffee, a lemonade or a nice scotch, whatever it is, that we're having a drink or a coffee together, and we can share things, with friends. So that's how I feel about this morning.
Well, I think that's exactly right. I think that we all feel the same thing. But we're very interested because you chose the title of this class, TGIO, Thank God It's Over, and lessons learned and the future and what lies ahead. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Well, sure. 2020 certainly caught us by surprise. Just yesterday, I was having a planning meeting with the BuDhaGirl team, and I looked back about what we were doing January 2020. And I started laughing because we did have a plan. Trust me, we had a plan for 2020. And, needless to say, that all went out the window. So when we were doing the 2021, I said, this is the best intentions we have, right? And this is kind of our vision, but who knows, right? And I think that I use the metaphor of the black swan. I think 2020 was really an event that caught people by surprise as individuals, as humans, because, we were scared for not only ourselves, but certainly our families, our colleagues. And, it was devastating, I think, in a way, at the beginning that what would happen. So I think it really was a moment of shift. And then as we became accustomed to seeing the news and, what was our perception kind of as the months went by, and what was our perception and what was reality? I think those two things, people had to navigate, all the news that was coming at us, whether it was genuine, whether it was through social media, through actual news platforms. I mean, we had to kind of steady the ship and understand, what the perceptions were and what the realities were. And so I think then 2020 gave us fortitude, gave people the kind of a survival instinct, and whether that was, again, a personal journey through understanding how there were times we had to be alone, we had to be reflective. We had to really embrace the fact, right, that today is the day. Today, there is no there. You don't know, nothing is guaranteed. And then, of course, for those who have businesses and teams that are, I'm going to say, dependent upon their leadership, you had to really say, what can you give? How can you become resilient to these challenges? And in 2020, we learned to do that. I think that we had to learn to do that. And in preparing for this time with you, I started to think that really since maybe World War II, there's never been a global challenge. And, again, World War II, we can kind of nitpick about it. It was global, but not global like this is global, right? So we've had generations that never had, a conflict or a true problem that was global in nature, right, until now. And it's incredible, you know, to see not only my mother's generation, my husband's generation, my generation, and my children's generation, how we all are looking at what has happened, right? Certainly my mother's generation in her 90s, you know, here's a woman who thought she'd seen it all, right? And then this comes along. And of course, there's a degree of fear, right? Because her group was the most vulnerable anywhere. You know, then we had, and by the way, that group had been through wars,
Right.
you know, had experienced that. Then you have, you know, my husband's generation where, you know, there was certainly the Cold War and things that happened globally, but not something that affected our physical health and kind of humanity the way this has. And so certainly not for my generation. And then what's most interesting is looking to the future. And Nancy, you mentioned Sloan, my daughter who's now 18. And, you know, she's a generation, right, that at between 17 and 18 had to spend a month by herself, quarantined, because she goes to school in another country. And that's not an easy task for a teenager, to be alone for a month, figuring what is happening. And I do think that exercise that she did is going to change her perception in the future. She has gone through something that none of us have gone through. And she's not the only one, by the way. I mean, there's generations of children, right, or throughout the world that are not seeing their friends, that are isolated, that are not learning, you know, how to get dirty and play in the playground and you know, come home all sweaty. You know, they don't have that anymore. And as teenagers, you know, even sports competitions, things that were really kind of normal in people's lives, you know, have gone away.
Yeah.
And, you know, how does this generation, this future generation, look at this and what do they learn? So that's, you know, one of the things that I ask. You know, I don't have the answer, but I do ask. And I think their perception will be different on how to handle problems, on the kind of industries they might choose to work in, and even industries that they choose to invent. Because, you know, if you told me that I knew what a photocatalytic oxidation machine was, you know, a year ago, I'd say, I don't know. Now I know it's a really good air purifier, right? And I know that the quality, like, of indoor air, we've always been concerned with the environment, the nature, right? But let's face it, guys, the quality of like indoor air now is vital, right? So our perceptions are changing. So I think this new generation will find these great avenues for invention and innovation.
Jessica, you know, so true, and we are finding and we are hearing so much about the innovations that have been taking place. You know, it's a sector, particularly in wellness, and you know, wellness as an industry was just catapulted kind of to the front of everyone's mind in a way that it hadn't been before, and we see that continuing. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what happened to your business and what, you know, describe your business a little bit for those who don't know, and those magnificent bangles in the background. But, you know, you had quite an interesting year as a result of what happened, or in spite of what happened.
Right. Well, luckily, yes. So again, you know, here we are planning in January of 2020. And then all of a sudden, you know, we came with a reality of, you know, can we even survive? You know, I mean, that was the question. And, you know, how do we keep our team safe? And, you know, BuDhaGirl actually started as an e-commerce company. So we were a digital company from kind of day one. And, you know, where a lot of retailer fashion, they were brick and mortar businesses. we were already in the arena of direct to consumer and internet. So that helped us a great deal because we didn't have to learn all of a sudden how to do business from a non-digital perspective.
Right.
So that was a good basis. Then, one of the things that we took this very seriously, we took people's health very seriously, and we operated in a way that was incredibly respectful and, tried to keep our team, with social distancing, with good practices and the whole thing. In spite of that, I have to tell you, it's been sad because 6 of our team members have had COVID and survived, and thrived through it. So we're very happy about that. But what happened with our, that's our inner team. And then our friends and clients, what happened with that group? Well, as we understood that we were still having to, fulfill orders and be in business in those early moments of March. And, we saw especially in the United States, the crunch that this pandemic took on healthcare, on the workers, on the front line, whether it was in hospitals or in, EMTs and police and all this. I mean, it's a big toll that it took. So, I'm sitting around the table with a team and we said, we got to thank these people. We have to just make sure that even if they can't afford BuDhaGirl bangles, they get some. They have to know that being centered and understanding that the importance of every day for each and every one of us is vital. So we decided to do BOGO, buy one, give one. So that's all I have to tell you, that the part of giving was enormous, and it catapulted us in a way where, you alluded to this earlier, Nancy, it alluded to the fact that people now all of a sudden really did become aware about mindfulness. Yep. And about wellness, and not only in the spa industry or in the move, in the areas where this group tends to work in. I mean, all of a sudden, this well-being and wellness went to everybody, right? And I don't know the statistics yet, but I guarantee you that all the apps that have to do with, like Headspace and meditation and Calm and, well-being have blown up, right? Yep. So BuDhaGirl from day one, yes, we have, these iconic bangles, but we also were deeply into content. Yes, we wanted you to have our product, but we wanted to understand, we wanted you to understand what it brought to you.
Take a minute, Jessica, and just explain the soul of the brand so everybody understands.
Yeah, so our kind of tagline is, we're a brand that creates well-being by marrying contemplative practice that's really validated by our scientists with fashion. And, when people originally said, what has fashion got to do with well-being? You know what? That's who we are. I mean, we've all chosen, whether it's fashion in terms of, here goes treatment lines for our skin, hair products, clothing, accessories, all those are choices we make. And, I don't care if it's simple or, it's over the top, it's still a choice. And that reasoned choice and that intention behind that choice is very important. What we have in our minds is crucial, because that's who we are. That's all we control is the way we think. We can't control people. We can't really control our health. If we're struck down with a disease, we can do things towards getting better. But our mind is the critical point. And that is why BuDhaGirl really exists, because we want people to understand that what you put in your mind and how you start your day and how you reflect upon what it is that you need and what you want is very important. And people just simply don't take the time to do it. They have lists of things to do and lists of things to accomplish, right? And, I wish everyone much success in that. But I also wish that you take time and say, is it what you want? Is it what you need? What else? Is there a curiosity in your life that perhaps, could give you some more energy? Is there something you want to study? Is it something that takes you out of your comfort zone? We all operate super nicely within our confines of what we know, right? But when we're pushed kind of over the edge, what does that look like? And do we grow? So, our product, our bangles are really meant, if you do the morning ritual, to ask yourself those questions. How do I feel? Do I need energy? Am I going into this like killer meeting that, I need to be focused on? Do I need to reach out to somebody that needs a little, perk today? Keep those thoughts in your mind. And, I hope that they're thoughts of joy too, because joy is a big word at the BuDhaGirl headquarters. If it doesn't bring you joy, we all do things in our lives that are have to do's. Find the joy in them. Find the joy that you can get from those things, because they're not going to go away. Life is a series of repetitive, sometimes actions, which, like Chuck Close says, the greatest, great artist. He said, yes, I am a great artist, but I'm a great artist because I repeat. I go into my studio and I work every day, and creativity does bloom and blossom from that, but it is a discipline. And I think all of us that are passionate about our work have that. We get up in the morning, we put one foot in front of the other, and we understand, and we're realists about what's happening, right? But I really hope that every one of us does it with immense joy.
It is a wonderful wish for everyone. I think that, anything that you can do that reminds you to be thinking that way, which is, kind of what you've built this incredible business on, really helps. I wonder if you could share the results, your business results in 2020, just briefly. And also, when you and I were talking about this, you were talking about how 2020 has redefined beauty. And right. I wonder if you could comment on that for a minute.
Yeah. Well, again, I think 2020, fashion and beauty obviously mark time, and they mark generations, they mark, quick fashion. It marks a lot of different things. 2020 really was a leap into what I would call, people are thinking about comfort and about makes them feel good, right? I mean, and we can laugh all you want about people staying in their pajamas all day, working from home, but there's a reason for that, right? There's a comfort level. And, I do think that feeling well in your body, I read one time, I thought it was fabulous, that the least amount of clothing that you put on a baby is the best way to develop their brain. Because the moment you start over, putting shoes on a baby, and, the onesie and the topper and the hat and the whole thing. I mean, think about yourself, think about your body, how your body feels, right? Sometimes you just want to take stuff off because, you're not thinking correctly. There's something that bothers you. So I think 2020, in the terms of beauty and fashion, we really are looking at comfort and how do we want to feel versus how we want to look. Maybe that's the shift, feeling versus looking. And of course, everybody wants to look their best, whatever their best is, but feeling good now maybe has, taken precedence over just the glam and the look and that's become secondary. And I really see that, whether it's a luxury brand and even messaging through the beauty industry, that the calm, the ritual. I mean, I've never seen the word ritual as much as I see it now.
That's right.
It's everywhere. So ritual, I think, is a very, very key word. And so that has been the shift from in a very quick period of time. Normally, again, it takes a little bit longer, but 2020,
Right.
just moved the world from under us in a little bit.
I'm going to just ask Rupert Schmidt to unmute himself. And at this moment of the intersection of kind of beauty and wellness and how people feel and what the shift might be, Rupert, would you like to, from Biologique Recherche, would you like to just offer a thought on this particular topic? I think it would be very valuable.
What is impressive is that during 2020, people have taken care of themselves all over the world, which explains that, for example, the makeup business went down, but the cosmetic business went up. Okay, so that means that yes, they had time, but they also had need for taking care of themselves. And what we believe is that even though 2020 is not totally over, because all over the world we will remain in 2020 probably a couple of weeks longer than expected, wellness will be the driver of our future. As Jessica just mentioned, is for fashion, it will be more important to feel well than to look well. Okay, and this is a wonderful way to express the shift which happened in 2020. How long will it last? How will it last? How will people travel? How will the hotels and the spa fields up again? Okay, this is a question. But one thing is sure, is that the wellness will come out as the leading trend and the leading dynamic after 2020. And we are all convinced of that. We are sure at Biologique Recherche that it will happen, and that we just have to look at that. Regarding beauty, beauty is part of wellness. Beauty is one of the expressions of wellness. Where does wellness start? Where does wellness end? That's a big question, okay? Is the environment and the nature included in wellness or not? Okay, that's a big question. Nobody has, we can discuss for hours, but so how you feel your wellness will be the driver, and beauty and the beauty industry and the spa industry will be driven by that, including, even though the business went online because we could not go to spas,
right?
Including the spa business, because people need more now than ever, and they have understood that touch, contact, physical contact is key for the humanity, for our own wellness. Okay.
Rupert, thank you so much. I think that those are incredibly important and very good points. It's really resonating. I just want to say what Jessica has been saying and what you just said, really resonating with the group here. So I appreciate so much your support in every way, and also your contribution to this conversation and to the industry. Jessica, I'd just like to ask you very quickly, tell us about the result of business for you in 2020. What were the if you could not necessarily numbers, but I know there's some interesting percentages of business that you did despite what was going on in the world, and I think it's a really interesting lesson. Could you share that?
Yeah. So we had quite an aggressive plan. We're one of these companies, where we're a 7-year-old company, and if you follow our path, it's been little steps, and now it's what we call volumetric, right? We're growing like this, we're not growing like that. And of course, that's greatly to do with the digital part of our business, because the retail part so our wholesale business, here's the statistic. Our wholesale business, which was at one point the driver in 2019, well, guess what happened? It tanked, right? Because stores were closed, right? So all of a sudden, here comes very much to what Rupert just said. People learn to go online, right? And to find wellness online. So bingo, our direct-to-consumer business grew by like 200%. So that's something that we were not expecting. However, you know, even though we were already doing business online, we had to kind of refocus, right? And understand that increase, that enormous increase in very quick, we saw that happening, you know, certainly in March and April and continuing through the holidays. You know, that increase, we had to learn new ways to conduct our business. And I also think that the platforms such as social media became very important. And we strived to be very true to our message and not react to either negative or react to kind of global things that were happening, because I think a lot of brands got sucked into, you know, standing for different things at times where they should have just concentrated on who they were, right? And I think it took a lot of discipline to stay true to just our messaging. What can we do for people, you know? And so did that answer your question?
Yes, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, for your business, for your online business to you know, go up 200% or whatever, and to, I mean, you also sit in a business, created a business where the heart and soul of it resonate at a time like this so much. I mean, I think people reach for intention and purpose and what is important to them, and a way to, you know, kind of capture that is what you have created, which is, you know, pretty much a very extraordinary thing. There's so many things I want to talk to you about, and I think would be interesting. I want you to talk for a second about the science behind what you do. One thing that's very important in both this summit and the Institute and our world is to have evidence and science behind the things that we do and the things that we talk about. And people don't think about the science behind beauty and fashion, but I think, you know, you really own that, and I'd love you to just talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, so from day one, when BuDhaGirl started, we've had a scientific board, and from, you know, day one, try telling, you know, editors in New York about, you know, mindfulness in fashion, you know, 7 years ago, and they were like, what are you talking about? And we felt that having an advisory science board was important, because people do want data. They want facts. They want to be legit. You know, you have to kind of have the stamp of approval. You know, if you say thus, is it really true, right?
Right.
And time and time again, you know, and you can go on our website and look at all of the links that we have to studies regarding the setting of intentions and affirmations, right, corresponding to outcomes. They are directly linked, you know, and that's not an opinion, it is a fact, right? And it is a fact that taking small breaks during your day to what we call a zero brain power minute, you know, where you're just going to clear your mind. And if you do this 2 or 3 times a day, you know, what happens? And through our involvement, for example, at the Center for Brain Health in Dallas, at UT Dallas, you know, we see that veterans, combat veterans, by taking these small exercises, not, you know, they're not sitting in a lotus position for 2 hours clearing their brain. They're doing these small exercises. It re-engages, you know, your connectivity. As we age too, the aging brain in our generation and future generations is paramount, because we're living longer, right? And the incidence of dementia and Alzheimer's and, you know, secondary diseases that really lessen the quality of life for an older person in terms of their cognitive abilities, right? Part of it is because those brains, you know, I mean, there is disease, but they really were not told to, you know, wait, hang on for a minute, stop, declutter for a little bit, let your brain connect with itself again. You know, a calm brain, for example, I find, and our scientists find, that it makes better connections. So when you're reaching for an answer, whether it's on a personal issue or on a business issue, you know, the worst thing you can do is stay up till 2 a.m. looking at a graph, trying to figure it out. You know, that's not going to help you. I mean, go have, you know, a glass of wine, look up at the stars, let yourself enjoy the moment, right? And, you know, I'm one of those believers. You're going to find that answer, you know, and you're going to find that answer in a way, and science, and then it goes back to science. Science will, you know, it sounds wonderful. It sounds like I'm storytelling, right? But science will tell you, you know what, go have your glass of wine, go look up at the stars, sleep well tonight, right? And get up in the morning refreshed and start your day, right? So it helps with people with PTSD, it helps with aging, and it helps with technology, because we're all on technology. We're on these puppies, you know, all the time.
Yep.
And having little technology breaks. What we realize that is completely pertinent to BuDhaGirl is that when you put the bangles on in the morning, you know, some people put them on because they like them and it's fashionable and call it a day. I get that. But the people that really use the ritual, you know, they're gentle reminders on your body all day long of what you originally put out there. And subconsciously, they're there. You don't feel them because, you know, you don't. And it doesn't matter. Look, I tell people, don't even think about bangles. Get something else in your life. I don't care. But if you have these gentle reminders in your day about what those original intentions were in that morning, you'll figure it out. Your brain will get these wonderful connections. It'll be relaxed. You'll become, I think, this is not a science thing, but I do see that people become more caring. They become kinder. They also are able to leave themselves behind a little bit and think of others first. It's not always, you know, why is this happening to me? Why is it me? You know, let it go.
I think that you know, in creating these, there's a little magic in them that, you know, I feel very strongly about. People give them away, they give them to other people. There's this like a kind of a special thing about the way you think about this jewelry, I have to say jewelry, and that you don't think about with other jewelry. And I think that, you know, I'm gonna just say that your way of blending science and wellness into beauty and fashion has been a real lesson to us. And I think one of the most powerful lessons, and this is going to be a shameless plug, but you know, the Institute has the Wellness Moonshot, a world free of preventable disease. It's a huge, powerful project meant to really inspire people to make change, behavior change that can really help the world. It is not, you know, it's not an insignificant undertaking. It's very powerful. It has gained tremendous traction. And I have to say that we credit you with a lot of that traction because you made it beautiful and understandable and accessible to people by creating the calendar that takes us through a year of this kind of intention and thoughtfulness and science about how we live our lives. And I know that maybe talk for a second about what inspired you to create it. And then I'm going to ask, I know Beatrice has, I think, some images of this year's calendar, which is kind of extraordinary to show. So
okay,
maybe Beatrice, Go ahead, Jessica.
So,
we'll put it up while you talk.
So Nancy, I think with a calendar, you know, people, again, and I use the example of BuDhaGirl, you know, people want pretty things. I mean, they just do. It's human nature, you know. Why do we like flowers? Why do we like, you know, beautiful beach? Why do we want, you know, really pretty packaging on our products? I mean, we just like beauty. I mean, it's just an innate, you know, I think our human nature wants beauty. And so, you know, it's really easy to get people to do things, right, if they're inspired by beauty. And I think, the concept is, of the moonshot calendar, or the wellness moonshot, forget the calendar, the wellness moonshot, I mean, has real gravitas, and if people haven't kind of gotten that fact straight, they really should, because preventing chronic disease, right, is, I mean, it's the best thing we can do, right? Let me give you, I don't have the real numbers, right? But a lot of the COVID deaths were caused because people had chronic disease, right? COVID was the thing that pushed it over the edge, right? The chronic disease, whether it was heart conditions, diabetes, whatever it was, people that had that. So just think about it. I mean, knock on wood, right, that there's another pandemic, but the healthier we are and the less compromised our immune systems are, right, the better we're all going to be, right?
Yes.
And let's talk about the financial burden on governments and on countries, right? I mean, money is a finite resource, and the way that people are aging, governments and countries are simply not prepared, right, to take on a really growing old population. I mean, they just don't. They weren't prepared. So it takes each and every one of us, right, to decide that we, as an individual, are prepared to take that on. And how can we help our families, our teams, our companies, our communities, right? And let me tell you, it's one step at a time. So if through the calendar, we get people inspired, and even to change one thing, that's why great athletes are great athletes. It's that 1 or 2% that makes them great athletes above everybody else. So if we can get people to shift that 1 or 2%, it's great.
Right. And I think, this is a project. And when we send out the sort of notes from this call and the follow-up, we're going to send links to all of this and to the moonshot and the calendar and Jessica's website and bio and all kinds of things, because people are really relating to the things that you're saying. And these are very powerful messages. But I think, and I think Susie would agree that, when the moonshot was launched with this, incredible group of people, and we were really, really determined, it needed a vehicle. It needed a way to be communicated and accessible to everyone in the world. And you did that through a beautiful product, a beautiful calendar that people could embrace. And that changed the nature of how we promote this project, how we talk about it, and how powerful it is. And this year's calendar is an extraordinary nod to, sort of color and brightness and joy. And I think you had mentioned that when you were designing this year's, it's like you were done, it needed to be really different.
No, and I think,
and Susie's holding it up.
Oh, oh, look, it's printed. I haven't seen it, so it's great. Printed. Oh, I love it. Oh, it's gorgeous.
Jessica, this is our prototype. We're just printing them now. What Beatrice showed is January through December, and the genius that Jessica provided is this is a hanging calendar. It goes on the ceiling to the floor, January through December, and it really is beautiful, Jessica. It turned
gorgeous.
Out good. Well, we're I'm thrilled that it works. I believe in the concept of it. I mean, again, it's the calendar is a vehicle, and when you were talking, Nancy, the one thing I want to maybe kind of wrap our conversation up. It is about marketing many times. How you want to. So we all have our companies, we all have our families, we all have all these things. And, when you want to bring it forth to other people, it really has to do with how you present it and how you market it and how to be respectful of others' times, because time is something that is limited to all of us, right? And it's hectic, and every day is filled with things. So being respectful and speaking intelligently to what you want, I think is very, very, very crucial.
Yeah.
But, giving it that accessibility, to certainly to the Global Wellness Summit group and institute, but to people outside of that, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that marketing is crucial.
Well,
And
we
Nancy,
are.
excuse me, if I can just mention, the Wellness Moonshot is a world free of preventable disease. And that's what we all can agree on, medical people, wellness people. And the way we use the calendar is that every month there is a word, and Jessica always chooses those words. And then we suggest that people use the monthly word and the calendar in their workplace wellness program, in their schools, and that's happened. And we now have almost 1,000 organizations that have signed up and 6 million people that are engaging with it. And I love the calendar, Jessica, this year. It's so bold and beautiful. And
It is. It's
words,
gorgeous.
the words give, you know, we encourage people to get together in groups and discuss what the words mean to them, like January is believe, and February is wonder. And I think one of the later words is charm, things that people, you know, don't always maybe talk about. So anyway, thank you. And I just wanted to show that.
Thank you, Susie. Thank you so much. And Jessica, I mean, there are just so many things to talk with you about, but being mindful of time and the fact that everyone is just agreeing and loving everything we're saying. I'm going to do something. Last year when I did the master classes, I ended by asking the guest, you know, what kept them up at night and what they were optimistic about. I'm going to change it up this year because it's 2021 and we're turning the page. And so I'm going to take a page from James Lipton's Inside the Actor's Studio questions that he asked, a sort of lightning round, but I'm going to adapt it a little bit for the wellness world. So Jessica, here we go.
Okay.
What is your favorite wellness word?
Wellness word?
Yep. One word.
Serenity.
What is your least favorite wellness word?
Obsessed.
What wellness treatment turns you on?
A hammam.
And what wellness treatment turns you off?
Meditation booths.
What is your favorite color?
Oh, pink.
And what is your favorite sound?
Ooh, I would say water trickling, raining.
What is your superpower?
Creativity.
And if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Nice to see you.
Hopefully she'll be wearing bangles.
That's what we aim for that.
Jessica, thank you so much for doing that. I just thought that would be a fun.
It was fun.
Yeah, that's a fun new thing to do this year. I think we're you know, we talk a lot about silver linings and we've talked a lot about things, but we need to kind of turn the page. Just for 1 minute, I want to just mention a phenomenon that I have discovered about your products, and that is that everyone gives them away. I mean, this is an interesting phenomenon with something that is a kind of prized, not inexpensive possession. That I find that, you know, I get 8 bangles and by the end of a month, I have 1 left. But you've told me that this is actually something that you did not expect, but the level of reordering of the bangles, this is something that happens everywhere. It's not just me.
Right. So there's actually a blog coming at the end of the month in January called Shareability, and I've used it years and years, you know, past because it resonates. So that word shareability doesn't really exist. So if you put it in, your computer's always going to try to correct you, and trust me, because I use it every day. So shareability, right, is obviously the quality, right, of an object to be shared, and BuDhaGirls taught us shareability. We did not teach that. That was not one of our pillars in the company originally. It was the tribe of wonderful clients and women that we had, right? That we're like, wait a minute, you know, this is almost like a treatment or a cosmetic. They're replenishing these things, right? We're like, wow, and why are they doing that? And then they started giving us these stories and these testimonials. So that shareability factor now is a daily part of BuDhaGirl. But it was not ours originally. It was the clients and the tribe members that did it for us.
Yeah, it's an incredible phenomenon. It's a little magic, I think. And before
Yeah,
we
right.
unmute and let everybody sort of send you some love, I want to show one more image that I thought was really extraordinary from this year. Beatrice, will you show the image of the, and it's Jessica, it's you and your mother.
Oh, uh-huh.
And Beatrice, you make that a little larger. That would be great on your screen if you can. Just can you tell us a little bit about this image? Because I think it's very much you, and it's very much your brand and kind of what you're giving to the world. So I wonder if you could just talk about that for a minute.
Yeah. So, you know, one of the things, thank you for sharing that, because that is one of my very favorite images. So,
Me too.
Thank you.
Me too.
Yeah, thank you very much. So
Beatrice, thank you.
BuDhaGirl, yeah. So again, everybody wants to know what a BuDhaGirl looks like. And, you know, we say it's not what you look like, it's who you are. And that means we've got BuDhaGirls that are newborns, and we have BuDhaGirls that are, you know, 90 years old. And it's, you know, goes through generations. Feeling well is really goes through generations. It's not what you look like, what you wear, what you believe. It's who you are. And being able to get that, I asked my mom to come down to the studio, and she's like, oh, no, no, no. And I said, just hold my hands, you know, and boom. And of course, yes, she does. She wasn't wearing all those bangles. So I said, you got to put the bangles on. But yes, I mean, I love the fact that we captured that image, and that it shows what we really want is to be together and be there for other generations, basically.
Jessica, I don't think there is a better image on which to end this call. What you do in the world, what you have given to the world, the importance of family in your world, that you've created a global family for all of us. It's just the most extraordinary thing. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. You know how I feel about you. I would like to have everybody unmute. Go ahead and unmute, and let's give some love to Jessica. And thank you for spending this time.
Very well done.
Yes.
The opportunity. Have a wonderful 2021, everybody.
Yes. Same to you guys.
Amazing.
Love you.
Healthy, safe, everybody.